A very warm welcome to Bophelong. My name is Puleng Molebatsi. As the world shifts the focus to those who live with mental illnesses, on the 10th of October, we would like to introduce you to a young man who've lived with temporal lobe epilepsy, a chronic and neurological condition from a very young age. Leandro has proven to society that living with mental illnesses does not make you a danger to society and those around you, or prevent you from living a happy, healthy life. This renowned pop singer invited us into his home to share his story. Have a look.
The diagnosis of mental illness can be quite overwhelming for a person, family, and friends. Often those diagnosed with it wonder if there's a chance of recovery and whether they'll be able to fit in their communities. This picture-perfect family revealed the pain and trauma they endured when one of their own was diagnosed with temporal lobe epilepsy, a rare mental condition that Leandro suffered since the age of 14. Leandro's family tell a tale of fear, pain, and stigma that tore the family apart.
Leandro was, I can say, from a very, very young age, and I'm saying like from 6 months maybe, very social child, very happy, very content, always smiling, loved people, would go with anyone, stranger or not. And through preschool and school, always very popular, very clever child, very intelligent.
The happy and so ever-friendly son of Kala and York Coimbra was very popular in primary school for his larger-than-life personality. Leandro began singing from the age of 7. He asked his mother to practice music.
He was just a very people's person, and he sort of was like a magnet to people. Everyone sort of loved him and related to him. Always very mature for his age. When he was 3 months, he looked like he was 5. When he was 6 months, he looked like he was 8. Milestones were reached very early. He started walking at 10 months. At the age of 1, he could decipher all the animals by sound, by action, even though he couldn't speak properly yet. And for a parent, it was exciting. As my first child, I thought it was cute, not knowing that he was way too advanced for his age.
It seemed Leandro was set for a perfect childhood, but the year 2010 brought about a dreadful change. Leandro had just started a new school where he was accepted for his high IQ. His parents took him to the school after they were advised due to his high IQ level. Shortly after he started at the school, his performance dropped and he started to lose focus in class.
We moved schools. He did a test at UJ, and they got him into a school called Radford. When he was tested, it turned out he was very gifted in certain areas. So he was moved to Radford House, which is a school for the gifted. And only when he was there did we realize that it's almost like we unclipped his wings and he soared to heights we had never thought imaginable.
Leandro recalls the pain of not having control of his thoughts, which often forced him to isolate himself.
The worst thing about this disease is that it absolutely targets your worst fears. Every single one of your worst fears, it targets and it manipulates. It's almost like something else is inside you, and it's yourself fighting yourself. You know, the self that you always knew you were, to this new, very dark, strange self.
The thoughts haunted him, and this affected his behavior. He became more reserved and began to fear for his family's safety.
We were all on high alert 24/7, including the school, because he'd wander off, and he'd be like a body without a soul. He'd just wander around, and you could tell he wasn't here. His pupils would dilate, his eyes would go glassy, almost looked like he was on a high. And he wasn't himself. So that was very difficult to accept. The younger brother, we lived in a very small home with just 2 bedrooms, so they shared a room. And when I asked him, "Aren't you scared to sleep in the same room as your brother?" he said no.
Never forget this, it's clear as day, putting the pillow over my brother's head and stabbing the pillow, like messed up stuff like that.
The family found it hard to believe that the loving and happy child that they knew and raised had turned out to be a monster.
So after a year, even though he was being controlled and he wasn't having seizures anymore, he still wasn't my child. That glow, that joy in his eyes was missing. And after about a year, slowly started coming back. And I can say under medication, we kind of got 95% of our child back.
The family had never heard of the mental illness before. They were concerned that Leandro would never recover from the mental condition. After the diagnosis, they discovered that the condition can be treated, but Leandro would have to be on medication for his entire life.
We continue with this story shortly after the break. Stay with SABC News.
Have we seen the last of you in politics?
I don't know. No, I'm just okay now with the work that I'm doing. Let me just do one thing at a time. So I don't have any plans for politics.
Watch Question Time with me, Mpho Tsedu, Monday to Thursday at 5:30 p.m. on the SABC News Channel.
Guinea is reopening an Ebola clinic in its remote southeast in an effort to prevent sick nationals seeking better treatment elsewhere.
The new labor law also seeks to clamp down on violent strikes by holding a trade union liable for violence committed by its members during a strike.
The new canal is set to boost annual revenues to about $13 billion by 2023. It's part of a larger project to expand port and shipping facilities around the canal.
This is Vigigas's fourth victory on the PGA Tour.
That's all the weather that I have for you for now. Stay tuned.
For all your business news, catch news at 1 every day. Be informed.
Welcome back to Bophelong, a place of hope. Leandro found comfort and joy in his music. Although he has to be on medication his entire life in order to manage the mental condition, he is living his life just by pursuing his dreams. In this next segment, he takes us through his journey in the music industry. Do take a look.
For 4 years, Leandro Coimbra battled with temporal lobe epilepsy. He struggled to control his thoughts and often felt haunted by them. Nearly killing his brother in an attempt to stab him forced him to confess to his mother the struggle that he was living with.
It's so hard to explain because it's your brain's telling you, yes, you'll kill someone. And it eventually wasn't just thoughts, it was like temptations as well.
When medication and support from his family and friends could not retain his sanity, music seemed to be the only form of therapy that gave Leandro a reason to live.
I probably wrote the most songs while I was going through my epilepsy stage. And that's where it helped me, I think. Not in a lyrical sort of way, because that's just the way I write my music. I never write the lyrics first, I always write the music. I feel the music speaks more to me. So musically, I wrote different songs. It was actually a blessing in disguise. I wrote very different, and some of my best songs I wrote during that period. And that was awesome fun. Now I think back and I'm like, being in such a dark state, whatever, actually helped me to forge something so unique and, on the musical scale.
Leandro's passion for music took him from a deep, dark space that he resented to a place where he could find inner peace. Leandro was concerned, however, that his friends would not accept him and that they would fear him after they discovered that he once attempted to kill his family.
Right now it sounds stupid, but to me at that point it made sense to kill myself so I could protect the ones I love, And that was the caring, loving Leandro that was still there, that I still felt was real. Surprisingly, they supported me amazingly, they didn't think I was crazy or anything. But it's also, I think my family, we're unique in the sense that we're all so very close, we just in general such a close family, we're so supportive as well.
Leandro continued to make music and his life began to return to normal. He released his music online for the public to hear. After receiving positive feedback, he knew he was destined for greatness.
My music's getting really well at the moment. I've just come back from performing at the Job Jazz, which is quite fun. And this has been a real eye-opener for me as well. The one day I was at my friend's house and I got a number calling and I looked at my phone and I was like, okay, this is a very long number. I was like, okay. So as I answered, it's like, hey man, it's John Degree. I almost lost it. I was like, ah! It's like I was doing a musical. I was like, yeah, I lost my stuff. And so I started speaking to him and he said to me, hey man, listen, me and my partner Jackie, we just listened to your stuff. We honestly think it could be the next big thing. And he said, what do you think of getting, a well-known US rapper on one of your songs, like Lil Wayne or Drake? And I was like, well, okay, that sounds very exciting, And he says, I just phoned to let you know that I'm on board to help you.
Leandro's music is certainly on the rise. He uses his talents to change perceptions about people living with mental illnesses.
My epilepsy, I now know that pretty much I'm not scared of anything in the world, because no one knows what true fear is until you have to kill someone you love or thoughts like that go through your mind.
At the age of 19, Leandro is certainly a force to be reckoned with. He's currently working on an international record deal and releasing a single for radio.
We're planning on releasing songs on radio now, finally, so that's quite cool.
You see, we've broken all the rules, yeah. I've gotta change, but so do you. Because we'll run away, and we'll fight and we'll call. We won't fall, we'll stand tall, just to say that we ain't over. We've gotta stay. I said, hey, and tell me you want me, you need me, stay. Tell me our world's gonna be okay. And if you leave me, I'll still stay. stay, just to fall in love with you again one day. When you kiss me, I lose myself. But it's gone now, and it's someone else. I'm never home, and you're missing me. Ooh, misunderstandings, can't we see? Whoa, and we'll run away, and we'll fight, and we'll call. We won't fall, we stand tall just to say that we ain't over. We've gotta say, oh, I said, hey, tell me you want me, need me, stay. Tell me your world's gonna be okay. And if you leave me, I'll still stay, just to fall in love with you again one day. Never go, please don't go, and I'll always love you. Never leave, please don't leave.
After the break, we talk more about living with temporal lobe epilepsy and other mental illnesses with Charlene Senkel from the South African Federation for Mental Health. Stay with us.
What is wrong with African players? Why are they not winning?
Our officials, they don't look at the bigger picture of players being happy before they go to the pitch, because mind game is very important.
Seek ye first the goals. I am playing the tactical strategy on the field of play, and all other things shall be added onto you. Don't put money before.
African coaches, did they do well?
I think so far they are doing well.
I do not agree. Sometimes local is lekker is dangerous, because I'm telling you, he who cut the road does not know that his back is zigzag.
Ghana proved to be a damp squib.
You cannot go to war with chickens. You go to war with your best commanders.
What will it take for Africa to make it at international level?
Bring professional coaches from anywhere, whether from Mars, Moon, Jupiter, to come and coach and get us the results. That's what we want. You can't be a coach simply because you play football. And do you have to be a drunkard in order to own a bottle store? No.
Watch Question Time with me, Mpotedu, Monday to Thursday at 5:30 p.m. on the SABC News Channel.
SABC, sharing 20 years of inspiration.
Welcome back to Bophelong with me, Puleng Molebatsi. Now, one of the producers took to the streets to hear your thoughts about mental illnesses, and this is what she had to say.
What I know about it is it's like a fit, but not physically like the epilepsy. It's more, for example, like a blackout that you will get, and it's almost like you won't know that you actually got it. Like the signs of your mood is also like maybe aggressive, or how can I say, like the sweetest person.
From what I understand, it's something that whereby you get an epilepsy attack, but you don't pass out. You actually black out for that moment in time where you can forget what's happening to you. You tend to have mood swings, aggression. You can even look at a picture and think that picture is looking at you and judging you.
I know nothing about it. I only know about epilepsy.
Not really much, because I haven't really been educated about it. But with epilepsy, I've heard quite a few stories about it. And I've gotten to witness one of the seizures that has happened before.
I don't know much about that. It's not a disease that I'm aware of.
And now to talk more about mental illnesses, I'm joined in studio by Charlene Senkel, a program manager for advocacy and development at the South African Federation for Mental Health. Charlene, welcome to Bophelong.
Thank you.
How can mental health affect a person?
I think it affects a person at all aspects of their life, including their family life. It often causes, some friction within the family.
Yeah.
If they're at school or at work, it affects productivity. Personal life, often they become withdrawn and isolated.
Sure.
And even the symptoms itself can be very scary. And then also when you go for treatment, a lot of the medications also got, some of them got quite severe side effects. So that causes some disabling effect. So it's and also from a personal perspective, you kind of lose your self-esteem and self-worth. So it's really got a wide, holistic impact on any person.
Yeah, sure. So what is temporal lobe epilepsy?
It's a type of epilepsy, but the difference with the temporal lobe epilepsy from the other epilepsy types is temporal lobe epilepsy, you don't, where the others where you experience seizures, kind of, falling down and having seizures.
Oh, okay.
Temporal lobe epilepsy has also associated with psychotic symptoms.
Okay, so that's how it differs from epilepsy, because when people hear epilepsy, they're expecting fainting, but they actually do not know that it has to do a lot with the mental aspect of it. And you're living with a mental illness. Please tell us more about that.
That's correct, yeah. I was diagnosed in 1991 with schizophrenia. I remember even back then, I had never heard the word before. So it was very scary for me to hear the word for the first time. And I think if you look back at those days, stigma and discrimination was much worse. So it was really like a shame on the family.
Sure.
When the symptoms started, much like with temporal lobe epilepsy, where you experience hearing voices, psychotic symptoms. That's the same with schizophrenia. So it's very scary, especially when you don't know about it. That's why it's also important that people do know about mental illness, so that you can identify the symptoms. It impacted. I was kind of one of the lucky ones where I managed to finish my high school degree. Shortly after that, when I started working, that's when the symptoms started. Schizophrenia normally affects in early adulthood, and it had a major impact on my family, as I explained to you, all the different aspects of my life. Eventually, I lost my job as a result from it, because I was hospitalized for extended periods of times. And I think what kind of turned my life around was when I experienced abuse. When I was admitted to one of the psychiatric hospitals.
What type of abuse?
I mean, both physically
and
emotionally.
In the mental institution?
Yes. Okay, I think it's also important to know that back then, we also kind of had the old Mental Health Act.
Yes, yes.
And our new Mental Health Care Act that came into effect in 2004 is now much human rights focused. So I was actually unfortunate before that to experience all these abuses. And I just thought to myself, I need to fight for the rights of people. So that's how I eventually got into the mental health field.
I mean, Charlene, I can imagine it must be really scary for a parent to notice the symptoms that your child could be suffering from a mental illness, and you look at them and they're probably 8 or 7 years old, and you're thinking, if I take them to a mental institution, how's that going to assist my child in having a normal childhood? Will they still feel normal in a mental institution? What's the advice that you give to parents that have come across, symptoms, and they know very well, but they're very reluctant about taking their children to a mental institution?
I think it's very important. Normally your first point of entry, when you suspect there's some symptoms of mental illness, it's very, very important to act immediately. Because the quicker you receive treatment, the better your prognosis and the better you are able to get your life back.
Yeah.
If you leave a mental illness and that person spirals out of control, it can take years or if ever to regain their previous level of functioning. But normally it's not necessary to directly, with the Mental Health Act, you can almost take a person directly to a psychiatric hospital. You have to start at primary care level.
Yeah.
So you can take the child to the a local clinic. I mean, that is free of charge if you're not in a medical aid. And they can refer you to a psychiatrist. Then the psychiatrist can diagnose. If necessary, they will hospitalize you. But in sometimes they won't hospitalize you, but they will prescribe medication and closely monitor you over a period of time.
Okay. And Leandro's mother speaks a lot about how Leandro felt suicidal most of the time. And the most scariest thing was that he will harm his parents. And he was still very, very young. So the mother just speaks about how that affects the whole family. Can the family as well get counseling?
Yes, for sure. There's a lot of support groups as well for parents with children with mental illnesses. A lot of the mental health societies that falls under the South African Federation for Mental Health. There are 17 across the country in provinces. They do have social workers that can also assist parents dealing with this. I also think it's important that parents familiarize themselves with the symptoms and treatment and all that, to kind of better understand what their child is going through, because that will also equip them to best support and deal with the child.
But you know, I mean, I think what really bothers people living with mental illness and just society is just they're not accepting. And there's a huge stigma that's attached to living with mental illness. You are not yourself, you're very dangerous. Do we have enough drives out there to educate people in South Africa about mental illnesses?
I think we came a long way, most definitely. I think one great example is your show today.
Thank you.
Is raising awareness, because the media plays such an important role, because you reach thousands of people to actually convey and depict the correct messages. Unfortunately, there is still high levels of stigma and discrimination attached to mental illness. Sometimes it's even further, all the work put into raising awareness is sometimes damaged by movies, for example, depicting the wrong facts. So that creates some confusion with people. But I think we've got still a lot more work to be done, especially on community level. Culture and religion also kind of impacts how a person experiences mental illness. So we need to find common grounds and also look at the facts, evidence-based information.
Indeed, indeed. And there are many other people out there that are living positive lifestyle. Look at Charlene over here, and of course Leandro, who's living a positive life. As from me and the rest of the Bophelong, it's a goodbye from today, but we'll be back next week Saturday. Goodbye.